The Plein Air Easton Podcast is brought to you by the Avalon Foundation, enriching the lives of those on the eastern shore of Maryland through the arts. Visit avalonfoundation.org for details on events, performances, and educational programming offered throughout the year. Today's episode is sponsored by JFM Enterprises, providing distinctive ready-made and custom frames and moldings to the trade since 1974. Visit jfm.net to view their catalog of designs.
Karl, know what's going on? Karl, have you done a podcast before?
No, I haven't, no.
It's his first podcast.
My first podcast.
So, Karl, do you remember Tim from your time here before?
I can't see Tim because of big right round microphones in front of his face.
I'll lift up my
All
face.
I can see is a cat.
Can you see me now?
I do, yeah, I recognise. I do recognise you, Tim. It was a long time ago.
Yes.
Well, that is one-sided because in addition to never not knowing a whole lot of these artists, I usually know their names or I've seen their face around. And Karl, I have never seen your face at Plein Air Easton, and I have no idea.
So I didn't have glasses then.
No, doesn't do it for me. Marie, what do you want to start off with?
I'm Marie. It's so nice to meet you.
You didn't know Marie either? You didn't meet him either?
No, I came after Karl.
Who's Karl?
I'm not exactly sure who he is, but he claims to know something about Plein Air Easton.
But he's been here before.
I have.
And he's coming again this summer.
And I can't wait.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Plein Air Easton Podcast. Marie, do you want to introduce yourself, or do you think they know you already?
No, I've heard that I should probably introduce myself. This is Marie Nuttall.
I'm Tim Wagon.
That was a fabulous conversation.
Ooh, that's a lot of pressure. That's a she really built the audience.
It was just so fun.
It was a lot of fun. He's really funny, and it's actually it's one of the we've never had a conversation like this one before.
No, we haven't.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's what?
Karl Terry.
How long have you been painting, Karl?
Well, I've been painting all my life, but seriously for probably about 20 years.
Yeah.
So I was a late starter, to take it seriously.
Nice.
What got you into it? What kind of painting got you into it?
What got me into it is a strange story. When I was at school, I wanted to follow art as a career, but my teacher and my parents both persuaded me not to, which at the time I thought was probably the wrong decision. But then about 20 years ago, I met my old art teacher, and then I got back into it again and haven't really looked back. It's become more of an illness than anything else. It's like a...
So you were good at art, and your folks told you not to get into art. They wanted you to be a doctor or a lawyer. So,
well, no, my art teacher, first of all, I think he was. I hate to say it because I don't think he might be listening, but he was a bit disillusioned. I think he wanted to be a painter and found that himself just teaching, like a lot of painters do. And he said, "You're never going to make a living. Do it for a hobby, but don't do it for a job."
Oh, well, because he was down in his own life.
I think so, and it was a great teacher, by the way. And my parents. My dad just wanted me to get a proper job. I think he was worried that I'd never make a living.
Yeah, that was a generation. That wasn't what it was like.
Yeah.
I
think so.
Because it's a little bit different now. Probably not a lot different. I don't know what they tell them not to be nowadays. I remember when the golf.
Don't be this.
Well, it was like don't be a teacher. Really, don't be an artist. Don't be music or theater.
Yeah.
Golf pros used to be laughed at. I mean, not in England, but even in America, golf pros were laughed at. Now it's like one of the most respected positions around.
Yes, yeah.
It's interesting how things have changed. What do you say, Marie?
What was your what was your career that you migrated away from?
I haven't migrated away fully. Funny enough, I'm a very lucky person because I have a business that I run or I manage, and I go painting every day. So I don't have to. Although I sell pictures and it's gone beyond my wildest dreams, I still have the other career as well. I restore medieval buildings, so things. Some of the buildings we work on Yeah, I mean, some of them over here, they were built before people settled in America. I mean, the average building that my company works on is probably 1500, some earlier than that.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is that? I mean, how?
We could do a whole podcast just on that.
I'd rather not.
What kind of stuff are you repairing?
We just my career has been very specialist because I live in southeast England in a county called Kent. All I do when I say I restore old buildings, I mean I'd rather talk about art, but
we will.
All my company does is we're Kent peg tilers, so it's a bit like thatchers, you know. So all we do in Kent in England, they have particularly small clay tiles that are 5.5 by 10 inches deep.
Okay.
They're peculiar, smallest tiles in the world and in England, and because they're medieval tiles, so a lot of the tiles we use are the original tiles that were on the roofs. So that's all we do. But we do a lot of work for National Trust and English Heritage and people like that in England. So it's a niche business. But what's great for me is it's interesting. There's quite an aesthetic to it. You know, there's a lot of craftsmanship involved. So for 10 years I was on the tools, and now I manage my guys, and when they're working I go off painting. So it's excellent.
Yeah, so the artistry is there, right? The artistry.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. You know, even the guys that work for me, they can't paint, but they have a real degree of artistry and an attention for detail. Otherwise, we just wouldn't get the work that we do.
So I would save this for speed round, but what is the most intriguing thing that you've uncovered while you're doing a renovation?
Funny enough, we don't really uncover that much. I mean, we find because they're old houses, we find lots of things like old shoes. And like old children's shoes. Well, there's an old wives'
What were people doing with children's shoes?
They used to put little shoes above doorways and in the roofs to ward off witches and evil spirits. We find lots of things like that.
Is that right?
And there's another thing, often or not, in the old roofs, they used to put a bottle in the end of the ridge. Do you know what the ridges are? The tiles that run along the top, they would put a bottle in and put a note or something in. But the story goes that people would only put a bottle in the end of a ridge if it was a bad customer to warn other people off.
Oh, really?
Whether it's true or not, I don't know.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, we'll get back onto the art for a second.
So the good thing, I think, for me, and it is, I used to be a bit embarrassed about it because it's a funny combination. But the thing I find with most of my friends are professional artists, full-time painters, but I don't have to worry. It's great if I sell some pictures, but I don't have to worry about the financial side of it. So it does mean that when I go and paint, right, I paint for the pure joy of it, and I don't try and second guess what people are going to buy. I paint what moves me or what tickles me, and I think that's I'm really lucky in that respect.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then what when you got back into it, did you go straight to landscape painting, or did you paint other things?
Straight to landscape painting. Yeah. I mean, my art teacher, Chris Danes, who I'm still very good friends with, he never really painted outdoors, but the first year that we started painting together, he bought me a book by Edward Seago, the great East Anglian landscape painter. And on the front cover, when I opened the book, there's a guy holding a French easel. That was, Edward Seago.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that really appeals to me, because I'm an outdoor sort of person. And I bought both myself and him a French easel. And to be honest, I just haven't stopped. It's there's not a day goes by where I don't paint.
For 20 years.
Yeah. Well, I say that. That's not quite true because I don't particularly like painting in the rain. I love painting the snow, and it's always cold here compared to where you are. But if the weather allows, then I'm outside painting. I've surprised you, haven't I? I can see by your face.
I know. I'm like, gosh, so many. I don't even know where to start now. See, now I don't even know what thread to pull.
Well, what did you have down there? I mean,
let me.
I could talk about England and like the scene there.
I totally. Well, I was born in England, so that's kind of.
Whereabouts were you born, Marie?
I was born right off of Lakenheath Air Force Base in Suffolk.
Yeah. I drive past there on my way up to Norfolk every year.
Oh,
and
nice.
They've got the American Air Base there, so we watch the F-15s and things take off. It's good fun.
Yeah. We just went like I guess maybe it's about 8 years since the last 2 years don't count. But we saw it. We stopped in the little town.
Everybody stops, don't they? Everyone stops along the road.
Yeah.
It's great. And what they do now, the last time I was there last year, they all take off together, and they thought, they're not doing. Then they make a show for the people that are watching. So they come in really low, fly along the runway, probably 20 foot high off the ground, and then do a vertical thing at the end. It's quite impressive.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, I love it up there. And Norfolk is a wonderful part of the country for painting, East Anglia.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. We really enjoyed it.
I've got one if you want to go ahead. I was just as romantic as England is, just sitting there talking about it.
Well, romantic for you.
Exactly. Exactly. For you, it's just
it's romantic for me to come to Eastern Coast America.
That's what I want. That's what I wanted to ask. What is the romance in that? What do you love about that? I just. Do you know what the weird thing? When I first came to Eastern, I'd never been to America before. And it was so welcoming because obviously we share the same language and a lot of the same history. It felt like it was an extension of where we are in a funny sort of way. It felt like home to me. I wasn't prepared for it.
Well, and especially because we borrowed all of your names for proper towns, especially on the East Coast.
I noticed itself is quite a historic town, and parts of it sort of reminded me a bit of England in a way.
And I noticed on the map that you have a St. Michael's, just north of you, don't you?
About 3 miles away from me.
3 miles.
What were you expecting?
I don't know. I don't know really what I was expecting. I think I wasn't expecting it to be so hot. I mean that knocked the socks off me. I think it was like it wasn't just hot; it was humid as well. You know, it was. It was in the 40s, so I'm going to be a bit more prepared this time.
It's a special breed that lives here year round, for sure.
But what I was really, everybody was so friendly too. And I think I came over with a friend of mine, Roger Della, so there were two of us, two Brits. And that was good in one way, but not so good in another, because if you're with somebody else, it doesn't make it quite as easy to make friends. And I think coming on my own this year, I'll have to make friends or I'm going to be lonely.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, that'll be easy enough for you to do, I'm sure. Well, and I know that
there are alumni artists that are looking forward to seeing you again. Yeah.
Good.
You're coming back as an entry, though? As an alumni artist at entry? You're in this. When did you get in last time? When did you get in last
2011.
time? 2011. Oh, wow.
2011.
Wow.
Yeah, 11 years. That's what I thought.
And I've applied, I think... I haven't applied every year. I've applied about 3 other times and haven't got in. So this year, I thought I'd try, and then I was gobsmacked when I found out I was coming. Especially, it's going to be a treat after COVID and not being.
Oh yeah, man! It's going to be a crazy summer here.
It's going to be fantastic,
crazy Eastern summer.
But I do follow it every year, and I don't know. The year before came to Plein Air Easton. This is quite a funny story. It's a bit. I came to. Plein Air Easton the year before with Chris Daines, my art teacher, because at the Academy Museum they had a Papa workshop.
Plein Air Painters of America workshop.
I knew nothing about it, but I said to Chris, I don't know. I think sometimes life has a funny way of working out. That sometimes things are fortuitous; they just happen. And I saw online. I don't know. I was really interested in the American. When I painted outside here, there wasn't much of a scene going on. There still isn't as much as there is in America. And I looked online and saw this plein air workshop advertised in Easton at your museum there. I didn't know any of the artists. I didn't know any of them at all.
Okay.
But I said to my friend, my art teacher, Chris, do you fancy coming to America with me? Because I want to sign up to this plein air workshop just so that I can get to America. And when we got there, we didn't choose everyone else had chosen their favourite artist, and we just put whoever you want us to go with. So we ended up with a wonderful man the first day. Everyone said, who are you? Who have you asked to be with? We said, well, we haven't asked. We just said, we'll go with whoever will have us because we don't know the artists. So the first, on the evening orientation, the first evening, they said, you're going to be with John Budachin. We had John Budachin on the Monday, we had John Budachin every day, apart from one day. And he's a fantastic fellow. I really like him. I'm still friends with him now. But the thing that was disappointing is they set the whilst we were happy with John, they said we had to go to the same farm every day for 4 days. So the first day that we got there, it was just a flat farm, flat land with 2 big silos. And my idea of going to where you are is to go down to Truman Island and see the old crab boats and the skipjack schooners and have a bit of variation. So we did the first day, and I said to John, as much as I like painting with you and you're a lovely guy, can we go somewhere else tomorrow or there? Because we want to explore the area. And they said, I'm sorry, it's all been set. So I don't know. I said to Chris, we've come a long way to paint. I don't want to paint the same farm. So I phoned the organisers up and I said, I'm really sorry, it's lovely and I love all you guys and everyone that I've met is lovely, but we're not going to join the workshop tomorrow. We're going to go and do our own thing. So Chris, my art teacher, was mortified, said, you can't do that, it's rude. And I said, well, look, we've flown a long way and we want to paint boats and rivers and different things.
These people are never going to see us again.
And I thought they won't be that. They've had our money. They won't be that bothered. So I signed out of the workshop, and then that evening to sort of celebrate, we went down to Truman, not to celebrate in a nasty way, to celebrate that we could paint boats and things. Uh-huh. We went down to Truman Island, and we were set up with our easels painting. And this chap come along and said hello, and they said, I'm a painter. Do you mind if I paint next to you? And I said, be my guest. Anyway, it was Don Demers. You know Don Demers?
Oh, yeah, Don. Yeah.
We had a real laugh. And Don said, where are you guys from? I said, from England. He goes, you're not the two maverick painters that have just left the workshop. I said, yes. We had a great evening. We painted and we had dinner.
That's
and then
great.
The following evening, Don said, look, we don't want you to have a bad experience, but why don't I introduce you to all the other tutors, the workshop, the other painters, and we'll meet up every evening. So when the workshop finishes at 4:00, because we've already got enough people on each day, we'll meet up with you and we'll paint privately together for the first, every night. So from 4:30 every evening, I paint with all the guys. So there's Skip Wickham and George Strickland and John Wilson and Don. We all met up every single evening and painting together. And after that, they've been really kind friends. I've been painting with them 2 or 3 times in America since, privately. But that's what made me want to come back the following year to Plein Air Easton.
That's
nice.
A great story.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
So had I not have made that decision, I probably wouldn't have met any other American painters, and maybe we'd have gone home. And although we'd have had a great time, it wouldn't have been. I've got a special connection to Easton now. It's one of the highlights of my life. I haven't been there.
Here we are 11 years later talking over video phone.
I know. Planning your return.
I can't wait.
Karl, we're going to take a quick break for an announcement real quick about the upcoming Plein Air Easton.
Thank you.
I know Marie's got some questions to ask you on the other side. One of the ones is I want to ask you as well is we're going to find out how Karl's painting has changed from 2011 to 2022. This is Plein Air Easton Podcast. We'll be right back.
The 18th Annual Plein Air Easton Competition and Festival takes place July 17th through the 24th, 2022, when 58 of the top plein air artists of our time will spend 1 week in Easton, Maryland, competing for thousands of dollars in prizes. Immerse yourself in a week of art exhibits, receptions, free demos, and panel discussions. Purchase exceptional and brand new art for that blank wall. Come for the art and make your summer memories at Plein Air Easton. The full event schedule can be found online at pleinaireaston.com.
I really want to know if there is a plein air scene in the UK.
Tell
us about that.
It's gathering pace really quickly now. I think 10 or 15 years ago, you'd hardly, if I went to London even, I wouldn't see a painter. There's a couple of painting groups. There's a painting group called the Wapping Group of Artists, of which I'm a member, and that's the oldest remaining plein air. That's been established since 1942, but it's capped at 25 members, so it's like dead man's shoes. But apart from that, I didn't really meet any painters. But I think often in the things that happen in America, follow on over here about 10 years. You always seem to be about 10 years ahead of us.
Right.
So,
well,
so do I need to come over there and start a plein air Easton?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, when you and Karl.
Plein air Rye would be fantastic.
I know.
You guys could go down to Seaton after you work every day planning it and have a ale outside.
For the last 10 years, things have really gathered pace, and I think even we start there's a lot more of American kit available here, and you can buy Plein Air magazine over here. So it's gathering pace. It's getting really popular, especially with the younger generation too, which is good.
That's awesome.
Are there organized paint outs or competitions?
Well, there is. There are. Yeah, not as much as there are in America, but about 3 years ago, I was one of the group of 12 people that set up Brit Plein Air, which is as a new group of British plein air painters, and we have a show every year in London in the Mall galleries, and then through that we organise paint outs that are free for anybody to come to.
Right.
So it is gathering pace, and then this year, the end of last year, there's a new group in London called Plein Air Painters of London. So yeah, it's gathering pace massively.
Nice.
So do you think like here? I mean,
we haven't got anyone like Eric Rhodes over here.
No.
I think he's very conscious of what's going on over here, but he hasn't really. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts doing things here as well.
Right? Yeah. You should try to get on that show. But because that's a big guy. But my thing is there probably are though in your mind though, right, Karl? Just as many people over there who want to plein air, they just don't even know it's a thing. Because that's the thing that we found out.
Yes,
it's like we didn't know anything about plein air until it came from California, and then all of a sudden it's everywhere. It's in Easton and Roanoke, and it's not. It's not.
And if your town doesn't have a plein air competition, you're calling up the other competitions and asking them how to start them.
Are there just as many artists over there who don't know about it, and people in the art that sort of thing? Or are they painting different stuff over there? They're just not interested in plein air. They've been painting plein air outside too long.
I think there's a massive history of plein air painting in England, but for the last the last 40, 50 years in England, the art scene has definitely changed. And actually, the sort of stuff that I've been doing and my colleagues have been doing, it's been seen to be a bit old-fashioned. There's an awful lot of really bad conceptual art over here, which is really popular. I say bad. That's subjective. I think it's bad, but
sure.
It's good.
Hey, like the bat signal, Karl Terry says it's bad. It's terrible.
Well, there's a really good artist over here, a brilliant artist, one of the most successful painters in England, called Andrew Gifford. And I've got one of his books. I've never actually met him, but he's a bit of a superstar. But he says something that sort of resonated with me for about the last 20 years. The word beauty over here is almost seen as ugly. Everything, if it's art, it has to be controversial or ugly, or if you say it's a picture, people don't really. The art critics, particularly, are not in love with that sort of stuff. But it's gaining pace, and it's getting more in England. We don't really, that old-fashioned art education where you go and learn to paint. That's almost a thing of the past. A lot of the art teachers now can't even draw, and I shouldn't say that because they're going to be listening. Some of these people, but
is there, Karl? Is there a place or an area or a town that I would go to that seems like pretty art forward? Like I've heard a little bit about Brighton area.
If there's a Brighton scene, if there's a plein air scene in Brighton, I don't know about it, and that's only about an hour from me.
Well, maybe not just plein air, but just art.
Art forward. What do you mean art forward?
Like Easton's kind of art forward, right?
No.
Like we're very.
What do you mean? We have an art scene.
Like we have an art museum. We have musical arts. We have visual arts. We
just
have
a hip art town.
Yeah, definitely. Brighton is that place. It's got a lot more art galleries and shops, and it's quite. What's the word? It's an arty town for sure. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, where I live in Rye, it's a medieval town, one of the oldest towns in England, and that's got quite a good art scene. There's quite a lot of artists sort of gravitate to this area because it's beautiful, and we're so close to London.
Yeah. How far are you from London?
We're only 60 miles.
Right.
So in English terms, it seems a long way, but that's the other thing I found when I came to Easton. I thought, I'll go to Easton. I'll go to Oxford for the day, and on the map it looked tiny.
It's only 9 miles.
Is it? Oh, I seem to remember it being further. The roads are so long and straight, aren't they?
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard of an American painter called Stuart Fullerton. He's a lovely fella.
Yeah.
Lives in Chicago. He's a member of the Palette and Chisel Club, but he's come to stay here for a couple of times. And one day we'd been out painting, and he was a bit shaky, and I didn't realise, but he spoke to my wife and said, "Joe, can you have a quiet word with Karl?" She goes, what's up? He says, I was still shaking. I'm terrified. He said, he does 60 miles an hour along these lanes, and our country lanes are one vehicle wide. He said, I had to close my eyes for the whole journey home. Our roads aren't like farm tracks. Our little lanes where we are here, they seriously one vehicle wide.
Right, yeah. We see that some of that style in the movies that we see from shot over in Europe every year. That's awesome. Relis, you got some. So it sounds like. I'm sorry. What did you say, Carl?
Are we still doing a podcast?
Yeah, we're still rolling. We're rolling. We're rolling. So, yeah, you've been working the whole time. We're not going to.
I thought we were having a 15-minute break.
Can you just say everything you just said over again, please?
Wait, now we're going to record it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, dear.
Sounds like if you were just catching up, you want an official intro to the podcast. We found that the punks are still taking over the art scene over in London still, and they still got never mind the Bullocks.
When I came to Easton last time, my dad gave me a tip. He said, when you hire a car at the airport, ask for the smallest economy car that you can get, because they won't have any small economy cars, and then you can get an upgrade for free or a little money for a bigger car.
Yeah, there you go.
So I got to Washington, and they said, "Oh, here's your car. It's like a Buick sedan." And I said, "I don't want a Buick sedan. I want my little Ford Fiesta. I want an economy car."
Right.
And they said, "Well, we haven't got an economy car." Well, I said, "Well, if I can't have an economy car, I don't want a Buick sedan. I want something a bit nicer." And they said, "Well, what had you got in mind?" I said, "Like a Mustang or something like that."
Did they give it to you?
Not quite. They made like another $150, but it was. I got this brand new Mustang coupe, and
nice.
When I got the first person I met when I got to Easton was Tim Bell or Tim Bill now.
Right,
we were really good friends, and he just said, "Bloody redneck from England, look at you." I turned up in this white Mustang. So I'm hoping I might be able to do something similar this year.
Did you find it very, I don't know, I found it very shocking going to the UK and them just like filling out the car rental paperwork and being like, "Okay, you're on your own." And we were like, like, we don't even know how to drive on the other side of the road. And
is that weird for you to drive? I mean,
no, I didn't mind that, because if we go into Europe, we have to drive on the other side.
Gotcha.
It takes about 10 minutes to get used to it.
Gotcha.
The thing I found difficult was getting out of Washington. Because I didn't have a sat nav, and the roads are so big. That was a bit strange.
Well, it's built so you can't attack it, is how it is. So it's very confusing to get.
I nearly died, though. I mean, I bet. I shouldn't admit this on air, but you know the speed limit is 55, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So when I was really lucky with my host family, because I stayed with some of the main sponsors, Bill and Doris Nicholson.
Yes.
And it's most amazing house, down near Tilman Island.
They're great people.
Yeah, they were fantastic. And the first or second night I was there, I thought, the roads are empty. There's no police. There's nobody here. It's a dead straight road. I'm going to see how fast this Mustang goes. Right.
You like speed?
Well, yeah, I don't mind it.
He already admitted he's a lead foot.
I mean, I'm just trying to see. I'm going to see how fast he's going to go here in a second.
I'm not going to get caught because it's 12 o'clock at night. It's a dead straight road. So I floored it, from that stretch from St Michael's to Tilman Island.
Yeah.
And I really was going fast, and a deer jumped out in front of me.
Oh my God!
I swerved to miss it. Missed it. I had a double blowout and blew both the tyres out.
No way.
How fast were you going, man?
I'm not telling you on air.
Oh my God!
Well, it wouldn't go much faster.
I was going to. That's why I was
Did you get the insurance addendum?
No, I had to pay for the tyres. Yeah.
You didn't wreck.
Pardon? No, didn't know.
Man, that's pretty lucky going that fast there, man.
Scary,
yeah, hopefully.
That's what I was saying. Like, are you a race car driver or something like that?
No. I don't even know why I did it, but I did. It was a moment of madness, I think. But it was fun.
No, it's a good
road.
News,
and the good news is...
It would have been fun if I'd been caught for speeding. I think that would have been awful.
So hopefully that's out of your system, so we won't have a repeat of that this time. Yeah, we're good.
And that was in July when you were here?
Yeah.
Because you probably scared the deer. You were going so fast. It woke the deer up.
I know. They were like, what?
They don't usually run in July that often here.
He was probably a little crazy in the head.
Yeah.
Not Karl, the deer.
It was really good, but
that's a lot of fun.
It was a lovely place to stay, but I think Bill and Doris, the second night we were there, they had some sort of family tragedy, so they had to leave us on our own, which was a bit of a shame.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, well, it's a close community here for sure. So when things like that happen, everybody kind of knows about it, gets felt around.
All the way.
Karl, how has your art changed from 2011 to 2022?
Well, I'd like to think I've got a lot better, but I'm nowhere near. You never get, as an artist, you never get where you're wanting to. But it's definitely changed. I think I've done an awful lot of painting since then, so I think I'd like to think it's got bolder. I'll try and say more with less. I still struggle with knowing when to stop. I think that's an age-old problem for artists, because you think one more stroke is going to make it better, and actually less is definitely more. Skip Whitcomb I've been on just because of COVID and we couldn't do anything, and I was going to go and see Skip Whitcomb last year because we'd become really good friends, and I've painted with him in Colorado, and we couldn't see him, so I was signed up to one of his online colour classes because I thought I've never done the colour charts. I've been too lazy to do that, but that has been a revelation to me, if I'm honest. And his mantra is the simpler the statement, the stronger the message, and that's really. That just in the last 6 months, that's really helped my work.
Karl, who inspires you as far as like artist, maybe even an old master that's not?
What do you mean? You're talking about modern or old ones? Because there's so many artists, though. I mean, just around here, I've got about 1,000 books. There's so many people that I'm inspired by. I mean, I think
old masters, like who inspires you of the old masters?
Old masters. One of my favourite artists. If you talk about England, I love the work of William Nicholson. Okay. So William Nicholson, he was I think one of the finest painters of landscapes and still lifes. And then there's so many artists. I think what's really influences my work is actually being connected to American art as well, because a lot of the artists I know here seem to be quite inward looking. They don't look as far outwards as I seem to have done, and I've been like discovering over the last 10 years all the Californian Impressionists and Guy Rose and all those people, and I think some of that influence of some of the Americans is actually, a lot of people over here say my work looks American, because I've been inspired by it, so.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is weird. A lot of people say, "Oh, your work's looking quite American." I suppose if you're influenced by something, it's going to inspire your work, isn't it? So,
what do you think that is? What is that nuance that makes something look American or
how
British?
Do you paint a sky? How do you paint a sky American?
Well, not just that. I think the I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's something about the American personality, and you're quite. Happy people are the ones I've seen. Be careful what I say. But you're not scared of colour. Over here, there's at the moment, and actually there's this. I would say, from what I look around, a lot of people over here don't celebrate colour. A lot of the British painters are really into tone. The toneless painters, and a lot of the painters are, as much as they're lovely and they're subtle, I wouldn't say, even nowadays, are not what I call a lot of colourists about. There's a lot of tonal painting. And I really love colour, so I think that's probably why I like the American painters, because the colour's a big thing over there, isn't it? I think there's a lot more – people study a lot more in America, and the artists over there tend to celebrate doing workshops, and, they go and do study with other painters more than they do here. There's not that much of a scene for that here.
Right.
The only people – I've done a few workshops, but generally the ones we do over here, they'd be mainly amateur painters, retired people coming, and they haven't got much idea, most of them, that come on the workshops. But over there, a lot of the professional artists will seek out other professional artists to go on their workshop, if they just find one little thing that affects their work.
Right.
So that's a great thing, I think.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you should become the famous English painter who paints American. It's a whole niche. Yeah. I mean,
of my generation, I think I've painted. I don't know many painters there's not many painters here that have been painting in America. There's one of my friends that I paint a lot with over here, Hayley Jo Summers. She's been to America and painted a few. I think she's done the Forgotten Coast and things like that.
Yeah, I've definitely heard her name.
Yeah, she's she's known, and another Vicky Norman. She's been in America. But other than that, I don't know any of the current crop of plein air painters that go to America. And I'm always saying, look, when they go to America, there's a big scene out there.
Right.
So, but
people are just happy.
Yeah, and I want to go to England because I want to see their scene. You know what I mean? So, I guess I don't know which place does more tourism. If there's more Americans that go to England or more English people that come to America, but it certainly feels like I want to get over to England at some point for sure. And I never really felt that way at all. Just over the last 10 or 15 years, it's just kind of become sort of a romantic place to me.
Could you accommodate 10 or 12 of us if we all came over?
I could. Yeah.
You could do your first workshop there.
But I guess, where I live, it's a beautiful. I don't know if you've heard of him, but my neighbour is probably the most famous living landscape painter in England, and he lives literally across the field from my house. And his name's Fred Cooming.
Cooming.
So, Fred Cooming. He's a member of the Royal Academy over here, and he's 90 now, but he's such an amazing painter, and I'm lucky enough to see him most weeks, and that's another inspiring painter.
He's the most probably arguably the most famous English landscape painter.
I think he probably is the most famous living landscape painter in England right now.
Gotcha. That's cool to know.
Yeah, but he's literally my neighbour, Cooming, Cuming, but he's I'm surprised he's not more well known in America because he does have shows in Kentucky and places.
Oh, nice.
He's brilliant. Yeah.
What do you think of his work?
I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
What is it about it?
It's poetic. He's got a fantastic sense of design and colour, and it's just amazing painter.
Karl, with the contrast in different styles that we were just talking about, are you excited to see the final exhibit at the end of the week?
Yes, I really am. Yeah, I really am. Yeah. That was a highlight last time. It was mad actually. The collectors' evening when we finished.
Yeah.
The people queuing up to come in, and it was like a buying frenzy. I've never seen anything like that over here.
It is.
And then people having buzzers so they can go upstairs and look through the racks. It was when I tell people about that in England, they don't believe it. They think they're telling a tall story.
Yeah, that's true.
But it is true. Some of the events that you threw as well. They were. I remember we went to one of the finals of Collectors' Day at the weekend afterwards. It was the most amazing. It's like a festival. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Really, yeah, I loved it. Every minute of it I loved. And everywhere, one thing I did do last time, on the first evening, you gave everybody a map and said, these people have opened up their ranches and houses and you can go and paint there. Most days I went
private parties.
You see one of those,
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
So welcoming. It was fantastic.
Well, and I hope we kept the things that that worked really well. But since you've been here 10, 11 years, we have definitely improved some things. So no more of that flipping through the accordion style.
Yeah, we don't have the buzzers anymore. We're a little bit bigger. It's spaced it out a little bit better. And it was just, again, like you said, so we didn't have to have customers waiting in crazy lines for buzzers to get in. They can all kind of go in and pick out who they want, that sort of thing, or who they want to look at, what artists they want to take a look at. If they've seen them during the week, it's a little bit different, but just as much fun. It hasn't gotten any more, it's just continue to grow each year. So hopefully you'll love what you come across this year.
The whole thing was great. I remember the quick draw was quite exciting as well at the end of the week. That was good.
Right. I want to ask one more question. I think Marie's got a couple of rapid fires or something like that.
Sure.
Marie, whatever.
Okay.
Yep.
And Marie, you can ask whatever you want. But you started off this interview, Karl, by saying, it was happenstance and I got back in it. I saw a teacher and I haven't looked back since. And what has fully, even going beyond your tile work for the restoring historic buildings.
Yeah.
What artistically has getting back into the art world like this meant to you personally in your life?
Personally, it's given me great balance in my life, and it's made me. I'll tell you the biggest thing it's done for me. It's made me really appreciate life, because being a painter, part of being a painter is learning to see, and then when you sit and look at or stand and look at something intently for 2 hours, it makes you appreciate every single bit of nature. Even I used to hate the winters, when it's cold and wet and miserable, and the snow. It was nice for a day or two, but now I love everything. I love every time of year, and I can't wait to wake up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it an opportunity to be in the moment
It very much is, and it makes you feel. I think when you're in the zone, when you're painting and it's going well, and you get in the zone, and you do something you're proud of, you can hardly remember doing it. You get so into it. It's a bit like meditation.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say.
And sometimes that doesn't happen enough. You have to be. I think the only thing I would say is, because I've got a busy life as well as my painting, if I've got too much on my mind, I can't paint. I have to clear. I have to be in a good frame of mind.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's been really life enriching, and that part of it, the joy of, everything about painting. I love the smell of it. I love the feel of the paint. I love doing it, and more than that, I love the camaraderie that I've got so many more friends now that have got something in common with me. And I think there's a Skip Whitcomb gave me a really famous American book that we hardly see over here called The Art Spirit by Robert Henry. And that said, or Henry, and it says in there, it talks about this brotherhood of painters, and that wherever you go in the world, if you meet another painter, you've automatically got something else in common with them, and it's it's like family. They're like a brotherhood. It's amazing.
Well, it's a language you can only speak with people who understand it a lot of times too.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I'll just, when you talk about that seeing thing, we're doing a play right now. It kind of works because it's Agatha Christie play. So she's English, and I can bring this English sort of theme in here to talk about. But it's the whole idea of getting the actors to really see what's going on in front of them, really for real, not as so that ability to see things like that you said, you see them differently, right?
Yeah, I think it is, and I think that learning to see, and I think to paint well. If you look at the best painters, make it look really easy and simple, but the best painters, I think, look harder than anybody else. They said that about Monet, didn't they? They said Monet, it was only an eye, but what an eye! He just you really have to look. You have to look really, really hard.
Yeah, and it'll affect you.
And there's another famous quote. I don't know who said it, but that is really true. And it said, there was never a masterpiece painted by a lazy painter. So to paint, you really have to concentrate and you really have to look. So these pictures that look fantastic and simple by the great masters, they weren't simple at all. They're the simplest ones are sometimes strangely more complex. Yeah.
That's what really gets me.
What's this quote? There's never been a great portrait painted by a lady painter?
No, I didn't
what did you say?
That. I said there's never been a great painting painted by a lazy painter. Not a
lazy. Okay, a lady.
Not a lady. No, that's it. No women are going to speak to me there.
I know that. Well, that's what I thought you got yourself into.
Tim
I was like,
lazy.
No, I'm just.
Tim's taking up the cause.
Painted by a lazy painter.
For all you lazy-eared Americans, he said lazy, not lady.
The good thing of that is if you're painting and you're doing something half-hearted and you're thinking, this would do, or that one stroke, one brush mark can ruin the whole painting. So you have to really be on it and focus.
No, I got it. I was
same thing. A lot of your listeners, they'll have the same experiences as me, but everybody comes up to you as a painter and said, "Oh, it must be so relaxing." It's not. It's not relaxing. It's great, but it's not relaxing.
Right. Thanks, Karl. We're gonna go. Marie, take it over.
What were you least prepared for? Was the heat like the biggest thing that shocked you coming here?
The humidity and the heat, yeah, but definitely. Well, I wasn't prepared for that. Oh, and there's midges. Ticks, yeah. Oh, and that surprised me because everywhere I wasn't prepared for that. And I turned up some places and
we're going to call
some of the painters have like tarpaulins. They pitched them on the ground and sprayed the air around them. I wasn't prepared for that.
I wasn't prepared for dousing all the air around me with the toxic mist.
Yeah, we learned that.
Stand on a tablecloth.
Right, we learned that technique that year. I think was to stand on a tablecloth and spray that with the tick juice or whatever. Yeah.
We don't have that over here. Well, that said, I think we do get ticks. I mean, a friend of mine's a painter, and he got Lyme disease, so that must have come from the tick. But you don't see them like you do over there.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a lot of building going on, and whenever you move into the woods and you do that a lot, you'll move the ticks around, so they go to different places. So if you're down in generally, whenever it's windy, you can get them too. So, and we have a lot of Lyme disease around here. It's one of the So hopefully England doesn't have that problem.
No, we don't want to
Rocky Mountain spotted fever. You got that?
Alpha-gal, you name it. It's all awful. You ready for a speed round?
Let's go. Speed round. Here it is.
Oh, this should be fun.
Okay. Karl, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Do you have a
I
dog?
would have said cats 20 years ago.
Oh, see how we've changed.
What happened? What happened?
I'm a dog convert. We had cats all the time. When I was a kid, we had cats, and we didn't have dogs. But my wife always had dogs. And then when we had kids, my wife said, "I want a dog. I want a dog." And I kept saying, "No, no, 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 no." And then one day she just wore me down, And I said, "Oh, for God's sake, go and get a dog." And I came home, and there's a little puppy. But no, the dogs are definitely more giving, aren't they? They're like,
Yeah.
Cats are very much more independent. So yeah, dogs for me now.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What do they say? Dogs have owners. Cats have staff.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, perfect. Very much. Yeah.
Do you prefer being social, or would you rather be on your own?
If I really want to do serious painting, I'd rather be on my own because otherwise I'm too social. So I end up not concentrating enough. Because I love people's company. I love the company of other painters.
Because you can't do meditation with a group of people.
No, and also you end up, especially if you're painting with people that you consider to be better than you, and you go and have a look at what they're doing, it can sort of mess up your head a bit. Because you think, how did he do that? I wish I'd done that painting. And you go back and look at your own, and you just see all the mistakes. So, yeah, if I'm painting and I'm doing it seriously, I'd rather be on my own. But then I like to. So if I'm with a group of painters, I'll wander off and I'll try and get far enough away from them so that I can't see what they're doing. It's not competitive.
Right. So you'd rather be social outside of painting too, I would imagine. Is that correct? Or would you rather be alone?
I think so, but my wife says that I'm only social when it suits me. So we go to parties sometimes where I don't really want to go, and then I'm antisocial, so complex person, I think. Yeah.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning person.
What subject would you be okay never hearing about ever again?
COVID.
Amen. You probably have a lot of people. Pandemic. There's a few words I could chuck in that bin too. I know. Have you read any books lately that you think everybody should read?
No, I'll tell you what I did read during lockdown, which I'd never read before. My brother gave it to me, and it's based on a true story. It's nothing to do with art. But I read In Cold Blood by Truman, Capone.
Oh, yeah.
And that's probably one of the only books that has almost made me cry at the end. I got so into it. It was such an amazingly well-written book, but it was a true story, and that was quite, I think everyone should read that, but it's not a happy book, is it?
No.
It's an amazing story. It's amazing.
But it's an award-winning book, for sure.
Yeah, and it's brilliant, yeah.
All right, Marie, come on, rapid fire. Fire another one off right now.
What is your favorite music genre?
I'm embarrassed to say that I like the 80s music because that's when it reminds me of my youth.
The 80s American music?
80s British music.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Like who? Tell us.
Post-punk, I like the Smiths and the Cure.
Of course,
and all those things,
yeah.
I listen to that when I'm going along. But I have quite a diverse music taste, but I often find myself listening to that stuff when I'm driving along. Yeah.
There's so many great bands out of England that came up, and there's so many in the Smiths era too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Squeeze is a little bit previous to them.
Yeah, brilliant.
But
the guy that's in Chris Difford out of Squeeze lived in the village where I live.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Well, Paul McCartney lives 3 miles away from me too.
My God, where do you live, Carl?
I live near Rye, and it's an hour and a bit from London, and it's probably one of the most beautiful little areas in the southeast England. So nice. I think that coupled with the fact that it's so close to London, we get quite a lot of.
Yeah, I don't see Paul McCartney as somebody who would settle.
No, he's lived here. He's been here. He's got a farm up the road. He's lived there 40 years. That's his main house. He's been there 40 years, yeah.
Nice place.
It's the Doors. The Doors were British too, weren't they?
No, they were Americans. See, there you go. Right. The one that
the other one, I like Crosby, Stills and Nash. They were a brilliant American band.
Right, yeah. Very popular.
You didn't go any of the folk route, huh? You didn't do Peter, Paul, and Mary?
Well, Crosby's...
I've never heard of him before, no. I've heard of the folk. The only things I know about folk is people like John Renbourn and people like that.
Gotcha.
John Renbourn and no.
All right.
My daughter's a folk singer.
You're being serious.
We've come.
You're not being serious about Peter, Paul, and Mary, though, right?
Oh, Peter! I thought it was Peter, Paul, and Mary. I thought you said Peter, Paul, Mary. Sorry, I think I never heard of Peter, Paul, Mary. But yeah, no, Peter, Paul, and Mary.
I was like, wait a second.
Congratulations,
Peter, Paul, Mary. Sorry.
Carl. You were the first one. You were the first one to get actually to the full end of the interview. We have totally beaten this thing down. Congratulations.
I was going to say, he's living under a musical rock or something if he hasn't heard
I was like,
well,
he's from England. He might not have heard of Peter, Paul, and Mary. I went along with
Paul, Mary. I thought you said Paul, Mary. Peter, Paul, Mary.
Peter,
yeah, I don't know that clown.
I think he's got a hair shampoo line. I think is Paul Mary.
Oh my gosh, Carl, this has been a hoot.
Yeah, it's been great, Carl.
You.
I'm glad you're coming back.
And I'm so excited to be coming over and flattered that I've, I feel honoured that I'm in the Plein Air Easton, actually.
Send me any questions as you prepare for your journey, and
yeah, travel safe. Obviously, maybe take it easy getting over here, but I think it's going to be a good summer this summer.
Absolutely.
Let's hope so. Yeah, I can't wait. Can't come around quick enough.
Oh, yeah. Our producer said, well, they've actually widened the back road, so when you're out there, so just
yeah, I think it's possible he actually will get like a Ford Fiesta.
I think I will this time.
We'll get you something that doesn't go over 40 miles an hour. Hopefully electric.
I've got one funny story. I went to before lockdown. I got invited by Skip Whitcomb to go to Colorado and paint at Steamboat Springs. And I met Jill Carver and a few people there. This was fantastic.
Right.
But I went to the airport and I ordered a Dodge Ram, because I thought I'm going to need a decent vehicle for the snow.
Right.
5.5 litre V8. The thing was useless in the snow, and I got to Steamboat and they all
they're
took
all
the mickey at me.
rear-wheel drive.
You said you didn't get a 4-wheel drive. I thought they were all 4-wheel drive. I got the only 2-wheel drive run in North America.
That would be tough in Colorado if it's bad.
Yeah, that's cold.
I'm surprised they even rent those things out.
That was the opposite to where you are. That was like minus 17, minus 18 degrees when we went there. That's too cold.
Right. Well, here everybody buys the 4x4s and the front wheel drive, and then they're made fun of until we get 6 inches of snow, and then they're the big heroes around town because they push everything around. But 2-wheel drive in Colorado. No.
Anyway,
all right. Carl,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, man.
I'm really looking forward to meeting you guys and everyone else. So yeah, it'd be great.
All right, look forward to it.
Yes.
Thank you. Cheers.
Take care. Safe travels until then.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The Plein Air Easton Podcast is brought to you by the Avalon Foundation and was produced by Nick Richards. Our theme music was generously provided by Blue Dot Sessions. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. You can learn more about Plein Air Easton at pleinaireaston.com.